good, y'all? Welcome to my review for the two-parter OVA Hero OVA. Make it do or die survival training. Yeah, these dropped a couple days ago. Funimation announced these that they were going to license them as well. That's the reason I'm talking about them, because now Hero has done some other OVAs in the past. Like, I think there was like the zombie one that was for like Jump Festa around season 1, or there was one for like maybe season 2. There have been some other OVAs, but I never covered them for a multitude of reasons. Either A, I wasn't reviewing the series at the time, or B, I just didn't know about them. Even if I did, I probably wouldn't review it because I would have to go out of my ways and like, look up fan subs for them, this, that, and the third. But since Funimation themselves are going to license these, I doubt they're going to dub it though. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I was planning on just doing reactions. I wasn't sure if I wanted to sit down here and do my full-on reviews, but I was like, I really ended up really enjoying these two, so I was like, you know what? Fuck it. There ain't too much to talk about, so let me do it all in one video, which is what we're doing here today. Also, guys, hear anything in the background? I have a fan running because it's over 100 fucking degrees here. It's over 110 here in Ridgecrest, California. I swear, man, it is so bloody hot. I am sick and tired of this heat, of the summer heat here in like these fucking desert areas of California, and apparently in fucking Death Valley, yeah, you know where the Undertaker's from? It's like over 130 there. Like, Christ, mate, you trying to kill me? Anyway, so enough of my bitching about the fucking weather. So if you hear a fan in the background, hopefully it isn't picking up on the mic. But yeah, if you hear anything, that's what it is. It is so bloody hot. Anyway, enough of me rambling. Let's just jump right in because these were actually ended up being really good. So we start this episode off. We find out that actually these little OVAs are technically ONAs according to Mal. Is that it takes place right before the second half of season 3 with the provisional licensing, because they mentioned like they're about to get started on that. So I guess it would take place like right before it. Anyway, Izuku mentions at the end, so then we head over back to the classroom. Everyone's, still wearing their summer outfits and everything. And Aizawa, who looks even deader than usual, because, like, legit, look at the man's eyes in there, man. Like, Christ, man, get some fucking sleep. But anyway, he goes on how in the provisional license exam, there's usually some sort of, like, disaster training or whatever, or, like, survival training. And so that's what and I guess this was either, which I think actually happened with that when they had to save all the civilians. During that episode during that arc in season 3, which I think is the one where Bakugo like screamed at someone and they like deducted him points or whatever. That was pretty funny. But yeah, anyway. So after that, so they show up like these charts of like who the groups are. We find out there's Group A and Group B. Group A pretty much contains all the main characters that we actually really care about, minus maybe Mina and a couple other ones, but we got Uraraka, Sue, Ida, Momo, Todoroki, Tokoyami, Kirishima, Bakugo, Izuku, I think there's other ones I think there's probably a couple other ones that I'm blanking on right now, but pretty much just like the main guys. Kaminari, that's who I was blanking on. Kaminari was another one that was in here, and a few others. But anyway, so then we head over. So after they get into the groups, they tell them to put their hero costumes on and everything. We know this is actually indeed to prepare for it because Izuku doesn't have like those like wind gauntlets or whatever they like just got in season 4. So that becomes this indeed is right before the end of season 3. Anyway. So afterwards, Ida kind of goes over the plan, tells her about the scenario going on, about we need to let's do this, let's do it right, so we don't bring Shane to UA, yada yada yada. Kaminari and Kirishima are like, bro, can we just get the fuck on and get to the training already, man? Like, come on. But then Momo comes in there like, I understand you're going to have to go over it one more time. She goes with the scenario that a fire broke out in this underground mall, but the fire's been taken out on civilians, but one person was left behind, so they're there to save that person who is portrayed by a dummy. And she like pulls like this hologram that shows like the map of the entire mall, I guess. It looks pretty cool, to be fair. And so Izuku then notices like, wait, he's like, oh shit, I ain't got a signal. And Kaminari and Kirishima are like, oh shit, yo, what the fuck, how did we not get a signal here? Which I actually kind of wonder how that's even possible. Like, How is UA fucking with the cell service there in like ground beta or wherever they are? It looks like they're around ground beta. I don't know how they're fucking with the cell service in there, but whatever. They probably got some device or some shit. But either way, but Sue ends up mentioning that we should probably find a place, or somebody mentions, I believe it was Sue, mentioned that there's some place that we should meet up. And so they end up going to like, let's look over like, I think they said B6 was like, or 6B. I think that's what they mentioned. They were like, check the bottom floor first, and then we'll meet by the central stairwell in like 10 minutes. Everyone agrees. Bakugo is already on the move, and Ida is like moving his arms, like doing that usual chop he does. He's like, Bakugo, do not interfere with our teamwork. Stay with us. And he just like moves his arms like crazy. It's absolutely hilarious, man. I love Ida. But anyway, so he decides like, I'm going to save the civilian before you all, and show you the difference between us. So you definitely know this is season 3 Bakugo. But anyway, so after they go that, Kirishima and Kaminari eventually decide to join, which should sound familiar given the next arc. Which that is one thing I kind of noticed, is that there's a lot of shit that I noticed that was taken from season 3, or that was from season 3 taken into this OVA, like of course like teams that we saw there and a few other scenes. Now I'm not going to give them too much because let's be real, these ONAs are probably just thrown together for something. And for like some promotional reasons or whatever, maybe just to get the studio back and keep the studio warmed up for season 5. I don't know. They obviously, this wasn't really their top priority. They weren't really concerned with making sure that it's like top of the line quality shit. Like this was probably just thrown together, which happens a lot with like filler stuff. They take similar. They take like shit from like the main. From like whatever main arc they just finished and take it and then maybe reuse some of the assets or whatever, which happens a couple extra times, which we'll get to those in a second. That was like the only thing I kind of noticed. If I had to give it like, if I had any problems with it, probably that. But it was like, but that's just me nitpicking at that point. Anyway, so they get it. So they go over there, and then Izuku, and so they end up and then Momo designates them into teams. Izuku gets Sue and Uraraka. We'll get back to Uraraka in a second because Best Girl was awesome in this episode, in these little 2 episodes. And they got Todoroki and Tokoyami and Ida and Momo. Those guys are the teams. And then Izuku like starts analyzing this, being like, oh yes, Momo's right because of this. And the man goes off how everyone's powers like work together, how they all balance together or whatever. Izuku, and like you can see in Izuku's eyes, man, it's concentrated. My boy is focused on this shit, man. As he's like overanalyzing the shit out of this. And so Uraraka starts. They put a lot of fan service for us Uraraka and Izuku shippers, which I appreciate, Studio Bones. Thank you very much. I tip my hat to you, good sir. Which we'll get back to that because there's also another moment later on which kind of really shows you that Bones knows that this is going to be the canon ship. We'll get to that in a second. But anyway, so she like starts tapping Izuku's shoulder and she's like, Deku. And then Izuku finally wakes up. He's like, oh shit, they noticed that everyone left my boy high and dry. Only the ones out there is Sue and Uraraka. Yeah, Sue and Uraraka with Izuku. So they end up deciding those are going downstairs and they're trying to look around. And they finally like, oh, it's a little bit more light up than usual because they mentioned the power was up, but the emergency power was indeed still on. So they had at least some light, more than they expected. So then they start thinking about where to look for next, and then Izuku mentions that if the fire started around the bottom of the place, at the bottom floor, most of the civilians that left went up to up the stairwells to get to higher ground, obviously to avoid the smoke. Because when you're in a fire, you gotta go to higher ground or whatever. I think, if I remember correctly, I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments or whatever. So anyway, somebody probably got stopped by some fire security thing on the door. So he points to one these on the map, this is where the staircase is. So they decide to go to that area. We then head over we then check around with the other guys. We see Momo and Ida just kind of looking around, making sure that we get everything done in the designated time. And then we see Tokoyami with Todoroki, and Todoroki has Tokoyami because he's using his fires as like a torch almost coming from his hand, asking him, do you know if this brightness is okay? And Tokoyami says, I'm no trouble, controlling Dark Shadow, so all is good. Then the ground starts shaking, and Now we also see Bakugo with Kaminari and Kirishima, and of course my man Bakugo is just marching to the B-Zone Drone. He's going forward, and Kirishima's tell him to slow down or whatever. He's like, you didn't need to follow me. I love Bakugo, man. It's always I almost forgot to mention there was this one funny scene when they got Desmond when we found out who the groups were between Group A and B. Bakugo, he's like, I'm on the same team as that damn nerd! And Izuku's face and that was fucking priceless. I loved it. Anyway, so after that, we then see the ground, it starts to shake. Like an earthquake is going on, or maybe this is part of the fucking trials or whatever. Either way, the ground starts to shake, crack, and the ground starts to fall underneath their feet as, shit is like falling right on top of them. Izuku goes and like rushes in to take care of some rubble, take care of some falling rubble. He gets rid of it, but once he lands, the ground starts to break beneath him. He's like, oh shit, did I say that? But he's like, oh shit, I'm falling. But then Uraraka goes in to rescue him, and then we see, but then she falls down to the ground, and then we see like these giant like pillars or whatever just fall on top of the holes, and then we go to commercial. Or at least, or I assume the commercial break was when this aired in Japan, because and I actually noticed that they look like they're using different transitions this time from the ones that we got in season 4, I think so, and they looked really cool. So I fucks them. I don't know if those are the ones you're gonna be using in season 5 or not, but I like the look of those. Anyway, so then they head over. So anyway, after that, we find out that my boy Izuku is actually floating in the air thanks to Uraraka, and they just both kind of just like look at each other for a moment. So after Izuku wakes up from his small slumber after Uraraka says, Deku, and she's like, oh shit, we're floating, and she of course saves him. Izuku thanks her for saving him. She's like, yeah, no problems. Of course they release. They both land on their feet like cats. Like they legit. It was like perfect. They perfectly land on their feet, like legit. And so then Uraraka kind of like bumps into Izuku. They look at each other, and then they start blushing and looking around. And there's this, I wonder how far we fell. Which, man, watch this. It's almost like even Studio Bones knows this will be the canon ship. Okay, legit. Minor change. Now, I'm not going to go on a rant or nothing, but you Bakugo Uraraka should. Now, to be fair, for as much as I fucking despise, and y'all know I fucking despise the Hiroaka fandom, cancerous, I will give y'all process. You Bakugo Uraraka should at least know how to stay in your lane. And that's a lot, and it's minus the yaoi degenerates. When it comes to shipping, it isn't that bad with the shipping wars. I haven't really seen people going crazy. At least from my opinion, maybe they have. Hands have not been thrown, thankfully. Like I said, unless we're talking about those yaoi degenerates. Fuck them. But y'all, like legit, when you guys I like at least now granted, the Norosaka and the Ichiro fans I think were the same way until their hearts were crushed, even though they should have seen it coming from the beginning, and then they all started like sending Kubo and like fucking Kishimoto death threats and shit. So who knows? Maybe then y'all will show your true colors. Then you'll be sending Horikoshi death threats or whatever. But like legit, at least with those two scenarios, they at least had a small sliver of a leg to stand on with those shits, where you could maybe make an argument with them. Bakugo and Uraraka makes no damn sense in the context of the series. Use your brains, people, please. Anyway, and plus, Bakugo and Cammy make for a much better couple anyway. Anyway, a little mini rant, if you want to call it, aside. They kind of like, Izuku like pulls out his phone, uses the flashlight, and he's like wondering like where Sue is, and he calls her Asui. Then Sue comes right from his flashlight and says, "Call me Sue," and then she just scares the living piss out of my boy. So then from there, they're kind of looking around, and Uraraka mentions that because of, that the openings are covered by the debris, that Izuku should just use his super strength, or use one for all to, of course, get rid of the rubble. And Sue tells them, wait, hold on, listen closely. And they can still hear debris falling, so they obviously can't do that, otherwise they might risk the whole fucking thing collapsing on them. Which I swear to God, this whole scenario was also in season 3 as well. In the provincial license exam, where Uraraka like rushed in somewhere and Momo had to stop her, like, calm down, woman. So I don't know, maybe I'm just misremembering, but I'm pretty sure this is like very simple. Like I said, this reuses a lot of reused assets, so to speak. There's a lot of reused assets in this little tour, but like I said, this was probably just thrown together for whatever promotional reasons or whatever. Anyway, so after that, they kind of look around. They find out the Momo was like on the other side. So they just kind of like holler at her, tell her, hey, we're coming over there. You good? And we find out. So then she tells the guy like to get some glue together, make sure the thing doesn't come crumbling down on them. So they made over to where Ida is, They get there, the dude's injured, he messed up his leg because he went to save Momo, but some of the debris got on top, like slammed against his fell on his leg, and they like hit his head against the wall with his helmet on, so he probably has maybe a minor concussion maybe, but he's a little out of it. They kind of like figure out trying what to do next, where they're going to go. Izuku comes up with the idea we'll go inside the elevator shaft or whatever, go in there to the elevator lobby, excuse me. So then Momo creates a stretcher, they strap up Ida and everything, and they go over to the elevator. We then have her back to Bakugo. He's once again throwing insults, thousands at Kaminari, telling like, we need you, you're a quirk now, you idiot. I bet you didn't even know that. We need your quirk. This, that, and calls him an idiot and all this stuff. And then he asks Kaminari, where is the least damaged area? Because they finally reached to the bottom floor, And so he assumes that it's over there because the walls are not cracked or whatever. They go over there, and he says, "Idiot! Of course, the sturdiest place in the room the sturdiest place in the building is where the emergency power is." God, he didn't say all that, but it's like he was like, "Oh, it's like it's where it is." God, from fucking Napoleon Dynamite. One of the weirdest movies I've ever seen. Good, but man, is it weird. Anyway, so they get over to the emergency power is. They find it. He tells Kaminari to get it to suit it up, and he's like, oh, it's all right. So and Kaminari just got famous. So at least to make sure it's easier for everyone else. And he says, and Bakugo says, "Stop jerking your feet, damn it! I'll kill you!" And the look on his face, Bakugo was serious. So he gets over there, he's about to go for the whole 2 million volts or whatever, and Bakugo just slaps like, "You idiot! You'll blow the batteries!" And you do that. So then he kind of does like a rapid charging. We also see some stuff with Todoroki where Dark Shadow goes berserk, goes back into that form we had seen since Season 3, which was nice to see that form again because it looked really, really cool when we saw it in Season 3. But some light shine in there, which comes from like Momo, and I think it might have been from Bakugo. And anyway, so that fixes them in their looking split. So then we end the first part of this. So we win the first part off with Bakugo going with Izuku in the ever again to the elevator lobby, and once they do that, we start seeing some water flooding in from the cracks. So we know shit's about to get real, and people are going to need to learn how to get their fucking sea legs real quick. So yeah, that is the end of the first part of this little 2-part ONA. So let's move on to the second part. So after we get through the previously recap and whatever. We see Izuku, of course. They're at the elevator. He opens the door, and so he tells, and so they all decide where they're going to go, and they find out that there is indeed light retreating through. So they know that actually that right there, there's light, there's sunlight. They can get out. So they're kind of wondering why it's like that. And Sue comes, I think it was believed it was Sue, comes to realizing that most likely the floor itself, like the road or whatever, collapsed as well, which is probably how there's sunlight piercing through. So Momo, Uraraka, and Sue go out there and take care of Ida to back up to Aizawa and everyone, while Izuku stays behind. And he also tells Momo to make a rope ladder for everyone else because he's gonna go down there, make sure everyone else gets out there safely. So then Uraraka's like, if anything if it gets too crazy, I'll come up. So they go up. So we see Uraraka go up there. Eventually they get up there, they open the door, and they go over there, and they meet with Aizawa. We then have her back to Bakugo, and the others are looking. They finally found out, Kirishima finally finds out where the dummy is, so then they're like, alright, we got him, yay, hooray! So then they're trying to figure out how to get him out. Kaminari just wants to wash his hands of this and be done with it and just kind of quit. And then Kirishima's like, bro, if that was a real human being trying to help me, would you give up so quick? He's like, well, I mean, this is a training exercise, so, And so they end up deciding and Bakugo, with his immense knowledge, says to just blow it up. So what happens is that Kaminari and Bakugo fire off. Well, Bakugo fires off his AP shot. Kaminari just fires off some electricity, while Kirishima goes and grabs the dummy, the test dummy. They grab the dummy, and there all seems good. But then we see some water coming out of the walls, and this is when shit gets crazy. We head back over to Tokoyami and Todoroki. They're kind of just looking around, trying to figure out what's happening next. And then they notice the water coming in there, and that's when the water really starts to pour in there. We head back to Kaminari. The other ones. Kaminari's of course freaking out at this. Bakugo's telling him to shut up and shit. And they're trying to figure out where to do next. So they end up looking up the stairs, and go up the high ground. So they go over there, but then next thing they know, Todoroki comes out there, busting through the bottom part of the wall, and fires off like this giant like ice mountain or whatever you want to call it, pillar, and tells them all to climb up. We also see Aizawa meet up with Uraraka and the other ones, where we find that indeed this is all part of the training exercise, and that he won't do shit. And so they're like, oh, if they can't do this, then they ain't rehearsed. They won't get their provisional license exam, which I guess is kind of right, because a scenario exactly like this played out indeed in the provisional license exam art, if I remember correctly. But anyway, they get down there, and so they get down there. Afterwards, they decide, like, they no longer heroes. They now need to be rescued. Who's going to do it? So then Momo, Uraraka, and Sue rush back down there to take care of that. They get the rope, ladder, and everything else prepared. We head over back to Bakugo and Todoroki, and Todoroki pretty much tells everyone to go on ahead and leave while he goes and take care of this. So everyone leaves. Bakugo ends up saying, like, I don't know you anything. Legit. Bakugo is so funny, man. One of my all-time favorite characters in this fucking series. So anyway, after that, they kind of just started. We head over to Izuku, and he's rushing over to find out where everyone is, trying to figure out where everyone is, the last people. So he's kind of looking around, and he knows that it starts to get a little colder. So he assumes that Todoroki is using his ice attack. So what he ends up like, okay, I'll get down the lower flowers. You're gonna have to force my way down. So after he's busting through walls of the Kool-Aid Man, only thing he's busy saying, "Oh yeah." Could have thrown that in there, bones, but whatever. I digress. But anyway, so he gets down there, he meets up with Kaminari and Kirishima and the others. He tells them, hey everyone, he tells them to go over to where the ladder is, and they go over there while he meets up with Todoroki and Bakugo. They're trying to figure out, Bakugo and Todoroki are trying to figure out a way to get out there. Bakugo mentions that most likely, just because he has it on the top, Todoroki's eyes only on the top layer, the pressure's going to build up and the water's going to come busting through the walls, and it'll be just coming in like geysers or whatever. Or like water jets, excuse me. So then Todoroki's like, oh, I never thought of that, and he's like, shut up! So you gotta love Bakugo, man. You gotta love him. So anyway, after that, they kind of argue for a minute, and they figure out what the plan was. Izuku jumps in there. Bakugo's like, oh, what are you doing here, you damn nerd? Oh, I love Bakugo's insults. So entertaining. It's always entertaining to watch Bakugo insult someone. It's like watching The Rock bury someone. Entertainment gold. Anyway, so he goes anyway, so he fires like this kick or whatever at the floor, sending up a geyser of the water upwards. Todoroki grabs Izuku, and they're kind of just going up there while Bakugo was firing off against the ceiling after each roof, the ceiling of each floor to get them up higher and higher and higher. But he gets to the first one, no problem. Second one, he only manages to crack it. Izuku comes in there and drop kicks it. If you can even consider that a drop kick, whatever. He kicks it. Fire manages to break it through. Todoroki manages to catch him, bring it back up there, and Bakugo just takes care of the rest, double-handed. So then we head over back to Todoroki, to Kirishima and the other guys climbing the ladder. Kaminari actually ends up falling off the ladder, but Sue manages to save him just in the nick of time. Close one there. We get back to the Izuku and the others. Todoroki's all fine, he shields himself with his ice, and he melts it away. Then he finds Izuku laid out. He goes over to check on him. He's fine, a bit bruised, but then they see Bakugo, and he's injured. There's blood coming around from his knee. And then the episode just randomly fades to black here. Now, I don't know if that was just because they added a second commercial break there. It wouldn't surprise me because I think this might have actually been maybe an hour-long special that might have aired in Japan, but they split it in 2 episodes when it got released here in the States. I'm assuming that was the case because I don't know why else the episode would just randomly fade to black. I thought it was actually going to end there. They were just going to leave it on this cliffhanger. That's what I thought initially. But whatever the case may be, if you guys live in Japan, and you watch it there, tell me down below what that was all about. If that was a third commercial break or something. But anyway, So after they get to Bakugo, Todoroki's obviously trying to help him. Bakugo just swipes his hand wheel, tells him to fuck off. Izuku is trying desperately to help him out, but he ain't listening. He's like, no, I'll force myself if it kills me. He stands back up and he's wobbling. He doesn't really sturdy. And Todoroki's telling him this. Bakugo's like, no, my lasers won't do what they tell me. Izuku then grabs his arm, which I'm sure all the yaoi degenerates were squirting in their pants at this current state, ladies and gentlemen. And you know, he's telling like, I want to save you too, man. You got the power back on because you wanted to make it easier for everyone else. He's like, no, I did it easier to make it find the civilian faster. And he like, Bakugo's like, I'm like such a Nelson today at this point, man. It's honestly hilarious. But eventually Izuku keeps trying to like tell him like, dude, just let me help you, lean on me, something. I want to help you. Bakugo eventually relents and tells Izuku to be his cane. Yes, you heard that right. He tells Izuku straight up, be my cane. And Izuku at first is like, what the fuck? Huh? And he says, be my cane. And then he's just like, oh, okay, I'll be your cane. And then he says, the Bakugo's like, canes don't talk. I love these two, man. They're absolutely, I love Bakugo, man. Top three of my favorite characters. So anyway, they finally managed to get back up to Uraraka mentions, which actually one thing I forgot to mention. After Ida wakes up and everyone else kind of makes it up there, they kind of wonder where Todoroki, Bakugo, and Izuku are. And Uraraka says, you know, that they're all fine, and if he's going to say he's going to save them, he's going to save them, and it's going to take a lot more than that to take out Bakugo and Todoroki, aka, here's why Uraraka's the best girl. So anyway, they get back up there, and that's pretty much where the episode ends. So yeah, man, overall, this was a really fun OVA to watch, or ONA series to watch. Fun, two nice, fun little episodes there that were pretty nice. I enjoyed them. I wouldn't say any of you guys that didn't, or who maybe just watched the review didn't watch it. I'm not saying any of you gotta go run out and you'll watch it on Funimation now, or if it's on Crunchyroll, watch it there, or pirate it if that's your style, whatever the case may be. You could skip these if you honestly, if you honestly want to. There's nothing really here, but you want some more Hero Waka content, you can't go wrong with these two ONAs. They were a fun little distraction to hold us over until season 5 comes out. Whenever that may be with this fucking pandemic, I think we'll be lucky if we get spring of next year. If you had to ask me, I'm expecting it to be once again being fall of next year. I'm hoping for spring because I like it better when it's in April, but whatever. Anyway, guys, overall, I'm gonna give this 2 episode OVA series an 8.5 out of 10, guys. So yeah, anyway, guys, I am now going to suffer with another shit-tastic episode on Monday Night Raw. I hope all of you guys will have a far superior Monday night than I will. And anyway, hope y'all enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did, subscribe if you're new. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter for like links on the description box below. And as always, come back for more. See you guys next time.